You know, a lot of people, a lot of people say they're doing, the inner work, right? They talk about the nervous system regulation, therapy, counseling, journaling, self-reflection, and sure, those things are beautiful, necessary, but I think something strange has crept in, and I see this happening quite a bit. I don't think they're doing the work to awaken, and maybe they are, and this just may just be me, but it really seems like they're doing it to sedate themselves. So they're not asking, where am I unconscious? They're asking, what can I consume that helps me feel better right now? Right? And that's not healing, that's emotional sedation. So I see a lot of people are feeding into this AI structure, and I think AI has its place here, but people are using AI in order to justify their own behaviors and feelings, and they're creating relationships with this AI, which is really just a mirrored version of their own desires, right? Like, so sometimes this whole process, it looks like mindfulness, right? Sometimes it looks like spiritual language. Sometimes it even looks like a kind of empowerment, but underneath it, it's still the same ego structure. It's demanding comfort, validation, and protection, right? People want to be validated so much with their perspective that they go out of their way, and they'll do things like form relationships or get validation from AI because they can't find it from others. There's a reason why they can't find it from others, but that's something else. And there's people out there, they speak this language of growth, of boundaries, of attachment wounds, of regulation, but they use that language to defend themselves from intimacy, from honesty, and from the hard mirror of human relationship. They're not trying to wake up. They're trying to build a cocoon that feels safe, and then they call that healing. And sometimes I think it goes even deeper. They'll seek out books, videos, teachers, courses, and like I said, even AI, not to be challenged, but to be soothed. And they're not asking, where am I deceiving myself? They're asking, who will say the thing I need to hear to justify where I am? That's not self-love. That's self-preservation masquerading as growth. You see, real healing isn't always soothing. Real healing is often incredibly disruptive. It brings you face to face with your fear, your attachments, your pride. It asks something of you. It doesn't coddle you. It invites you to die, right to the part of you that still needs to be right, to be safe, to be seen a certain way. And if you're not willing to let those parts fall away, then you're not healing. You're just rearranging the furniture in the same locked room. So here's the invitation. Before you call it inner work, just pause and ask, am I trying to wake up? Or am I just trying to feel okay? And there's times where we just need to feel okay. Nothing against that. But if that becomes a pattern in our life, then we're going to cause problems for ourselves and for others. And from that space, when we cause problems, we're just going to be projecting all of those things onto other people. We're not going to listen to them. We're not going to hear things. There's no active listening, right? We're going to be causing major upheavals in our lives. So you need to ask yourself, am I trying to wake up, or am I just trying to feel okay? Because only one of those will set you free here. The other will keep you asleep in soft language with warm blankets and a heavy hidden weight you never quite name. Just wake up. Not for anyone else, but because you were never meant to live half alive. This life is precious. Stop squandering it. We're all going to have obstacles that we have to overcome from time to time. We're human. We are going to make mistakes, but we don't identify ourselves by those mistakes. We see there's us, the human, and there's our behavior. And we have to subtly detach those and say, I am not those behaviors. I am not the behaviors. They do not identify who I am. I am the ever-present stillness which recognizes those behaviors. And there's an incredibly deep sense of solace in that. There's something profound when we can meet our behaviors from that sense of self. That sense of self is free of those behaviors. This is why we can view it, right? The subject-object. We are not an object. We are the subject. Behaviors are an object. We are the subject with its viewing those behaviors. And we have to really be honest with ourselves and look at this. Others may try to get us to look at our behaviors. And that's typically an avoidance strategy on their end, to avoid their own behaviors and focus on you and yours. Stay steady in who you are. Know that you are not your behaviors, and know that you are the subject, which is free from all of those things. All of us are. All of you are. I am. You are. We all are. Be forgiving. Be compassionate to yourself. Be compassionate to others. And compassion doesn't mean rolling over and accepting what other people are doing or saying. It means doing the right thing for the right reasons. And that can only come from that sense of self, which is not dependent upon an identity based around behaviors or feelings. Feelings have their spot. Feelings are necessary. But when we identify with our feelings, same as behaviors, we wrap ourselves up, we enmesh ourselves in these continuously fleeting states. We move from loving to anger to kindness to happiness to fear to regret to guilt to shame, all within a day. And if we're wrapped up and we're enmeshed in those feelings, our sense of identity goes along with that. We need to intentionally, consciously stand back and say, I am not those feelings, without suppressing them, without regressing, just by simple observation from the stance of a witness, or in Sanskrit we say Atman. I can't express this enough. If we want relationships to work, we have to start taking accountability for our own behaviors. And we have to allow other people to move at their own pace. Trust in them when they say they are working toward a sense of self, which is not based upon those transient feelings or behaviors, that they recognize those behaviors. And we need to uplift one another in that process. Life's beautiful. We need to stop weighing ourselves down and weighing others down with our expectations, our beliefs, our ideals, our approaches, our emotional states, and we need to mature. We need to mature and ground ourselves in something which is not transient, which is not moving, which is ever steady. And we have to find that for ourselves. That's a subjective and personal process. And if we're not willing to set out on that, we're just going to be living reflexively and meshing ourselves with all of these emotional states like a whirlwind. Our life is going to be a storm after storm after storm after storm. And we're going to be pointing at everything around us, saying, it's because of this, it's because of this, it's because of this. In Sanskrit, we have the same, we say neti, 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 neti. Not this, not this. Not this, not this. Namaskar.